Hello everyone and welcome back to UE5 BP Guru. We're back in the Resident Evil tutorial series and I kind of want to show off creating sort of like an event of some form, or at least talk about how I made my events. And yeah, I've got two in here so far. Let's just show you them. So we start off in this wonderfully desolate hallway, and if we walk down here, you've seen this 1,000 times, but you've got the spooky ghost thing that kind of walks past the door. I will create an event eventually that if you walk through there, it will just kill you. You know, you won't get to see what's under there. It's just a no-go area. You learn that, right? If we enter down here, there is another one in the room that I made. When I spoke about it in the environmental episode, there's a room down here. If we go into it, there is another little spooky ghost that walks past the camera and makes its noise again. When you come out here, it's not there anymore. How did I do this? I basically used the camera switch again. Now there is, I do need to create a whole nother system. I'm holding onto that tree for some reason. Let's get rid of that. And it's just a mannequin I've found and a light. So if there's just a random light here, and the monster, or I call it the smoke monster because I've been watching a lot of Lost, but basically it just walks along here and it creates the shadow that you see on the floor. Very simple, right? Nothing too magical there, but it's just a lovely bit of smoke and mirrors that allows you to kind of get the illusion that there's something more. So I did this in the camera switch, and the reason I did it in the camera switch is purely because if I bring up R1, is because you can then just pinpoint these little events and have them happen whenever you want. You can have a million of them. It really doesn't matter. And you can do this. It doesn't have to be just for people walking along. You can set up the event however you like. You could have vents fall down, or lampshades fall down, or things knock over. It could be like maybe lightning flashes. You can do this for anything. There's one thing I need to do in a future episode once we've done our save system, because we need to keep track of what events have taken place, and we'll need to be able to save things before we can do that. But let's get things set up first before we get ahead of ourselves. We are going to create a sequence. So everything on sequence 0, we always want to have happen. This is when we walk into there, we want the camera to switch, and if we have a sound, we want the sound to play. Whether that's like background ambient noise or, you know, anything, that sound is going to play. On our second row, this will only happen if an event is coded into this place. How are we going to cover that? For now, we're just going to use a Boolean. Eventually, we're going to have a very flashy check system on a list of events that have or haven't happened. We can also set up to see if other events have happened before this one happens. So we can like link it that, you know, event 1 has to happen before event 2 happens, or if we don't want event 4 to play before event 1 has, we can set that up as well. So that's my hopes for a little event system. But for now, we're just going to set this to expose and instance editable so that we can program in whether an event needs to take place. We're then going to get all actors of a certain class. Get all actors of class. So this is just purely so we can pick what actor we want to do something. And we'll instance editable and expose and spawn that as well. So you've got to imagine a lot of these things are going to happen in blueprints, so that we can actually code in what happens in those scenarios. And the best thing to do is make a copy and always get 0. That way, we'll only have one of that particular actor, and it will always call for that actor to make sure it is viable. And then we're going to does implement interface. We're going to create this. I've already created an interface. I'm going to use that again. I just called it event BPI. I'll show you how to make that in a minute. And then we're going to see if it inherits that, implements that, interface. And if it does, then we're going to do something. And the event I've created is called activate event. Let's just call activate event. There we go. Activate event. I must have spelled it wrong. And that goes off the true. So if it does implement that interface, which it should do at this point, we're going to run that function, which is what we created in the event BPI. So whatever I've told that actor to do, it will do. And then what we can do is spawn sound 2D. And this will just play a random sound. And we're going to promote this to its own variable, and it's going to be called event sound, like so. We're also going to do the same thing. We can use the same multiply for now, but we might change that down the line to a different one. If we decide there's an area where it has a spawn sound and an event sound, we might change that to volume multiplier. You can do that now as well if you want to, but for now we'll just leave it as is. And we'll expose and instance that event sound as well. And then we will promote to a variable, just so we have it. And that will be called sound as well. No, it won't. We could promote to this one, actually. Because, again, at the moment, we don't have two sounds playing at the same location. We could just spawn this as sound, like that. That may be problematic down the line, but for now, it will be fine. We'll take this one, like so. The reason that's problematic, potentially, is because if we did have two sounds, that would cast this sound, and then this would overlap it, so that when we came to stop that sound when we walked out of the square, here, it won't stop that sound. It'll stop the event sound instead. So we will potentially have to change that. But for now, it's fine. And for now, so that we don't walk back in and get the same event happening twice, we're going to set has event to false. That will just, like I said, if you saved and loaded at this point, that event will play again, even if you didn't want it to. So we will change the system once we've done our load and save game functionality. But for now, it works and is a wonderful treat. So what do we need to do now? Well, we need to create somewhere an event BPI. Right click, go to blueprints and blueprints interface. You'll be met with this one called event BPI. Click on that and it will open up this, and you just create a new function. It will come up with a little line here. You name it whatever you want. You can have inputs and outputs if you really want to, but for me, I didn't need any of that. I just needed to have the function so that I can check to see if these creatures will inherit it or implement it. We can copy this once you've created one, because you're just changing whatever's inside of it and coding it to do whatever you want it to do. So we'll open it up and just see what I've done, though, for this one. So for this, I've obviously given it the skeletal mesh. I've given it a black color just to darken it out, so in case you saw anything, you shouldn't do because of the camera angle, but it was more just a backup. And you can move it around, obviously, but I wanted to get that shadow just right. What I've done is I go into the class settings, go to implemented interfaces, and add that event BPI that you've just created. Then we can just click on this and it will bring up that event for you to use. So back in our camera switch, if there is an event, it calls the actor. If it implements that interface, which is the event BPI, it will then use this activate event, or call it, so that you use it. And all mine does at the moment is I have an AI move to, I get our actor location, I add 600 to it, and once it's successfully hit that, I destroy the actor. Simple as that. And alongside the sound that plays, which I found fit perfectly, we ended up with this, which I've shown you already, but I'm going to show you again because I'm very proud of it. That wonderful creepy shadow. It's so perfect with the sound. It really did work out really well. And if I click on that event camera switch, you can see here all I've done is click has event, playable sound none, but the event sound is the whisper trail. And the actor class that we have available to us is, of course, the Shadow Monster 1. The reason I didn't make sorry, not the one, it's the just the Shadow Monster BP. And the reason I didn't use two of these is because it's always looking for the zero actor. So in this case, it's going to always look for this, but I'll destroy it and there won't be another one in there. So it's always going to look for this. So hence why I just duplicate them, Shadow BP1, and if I go to the other one that's up here, wherever it is, it's down here actually, and I click on this one, it's looking for Shadow Monster BP-1, which is this lovely chappy here who just walks. And then again, 600 is nothing in units, so it's probably walking to about here, but it's well above 600 way before I can get to the end of this hallway and through. So you'll never see this walking around. And even if you walked into this, back into this box, you're going to get this angle over here, wherever it is, this one here. So you're never going to see it walking forward. So it works really, really well. And when we put in our event system, it'll just basically determine what events we've already seen, and it will, even if I loaded the game, it would never load these back in. We can basically create another event BPI that goes through and destroys any of those actors that have already been activated when we load in the game. So really, really simple way of doing it. Hopefully you guys found this really useful. And as always, thank you so much guys for watching, and I'll see you in the next episode. Much love. Take care. Bye.